Well, as you pointed out, I think you said 2 days ago, you all had a state board meeting.
Yeah.
And obviously, do you all have those at a technical college? Do you have them in Columbia? Do you have them throughout the entire state? Or do you all travel around, meet in different places each? Is that monthly, quarterly, annually?
Our official board meetings are every other month.
Okay, great.
But we have committee meetings and special purpose meetings in between.
Right.
So we usually meet once or twice a month, either for a called board meeting or for some special meeting. We meet in Columbia, but we also make a point to visit and have board meetings at the technical colleges. We do that maybe 3 or 4 times a year.
Great.
So that we have a presence at each of the technical colleges sooner or later.
That is tremendous, Dan. Well, to think about it, it's been a decade now of service for you, and with the advice of the legislature moving on to the governor, clearly there have been different political parties represented both in the governor's office as well as here over the last decade. To think for you, clearly political party is not a determinant for educational decisions. I mean,
no, and I will say that in our state, that's generally true. Obviously, since there's some level of partisan politics involved in any of these types of appointments, the qualifications of the folks that I have served with over the last 10 years in this capacity is outstanding, and whatever their political philosophy is just, it's not a factor.
that's great, Dan. That's great. We've only got 7 or 8 minutes, and I want to make sure we had a chance to get into not only education that has impacted your life, but also things in life that have impacted you dramatically in the last 20 years or so. I know you mentioned back in 1993 you were impacted, but even recognizing even as recently as 2009. Share with viewers, if you don't mind. I know it's totally unrelated, but your gastric bypass surgery is incredible, because a lot of people wouldn't even recognize who is Greg interviewing today. They wouldn't recognize Dan Gray sitting here. You look totally different than even the last time I saw you. It's incredible. That's not cancer, albeit you've been through a lot physically in the last 18 months, Dan.
Yes, I was diagnosed with bladder cancer 2 years ago, and in the same time period I was also advised that I had some other medical conditions that were related to the fact that I was morbidly obese. And so I worked into a gastric bypass solution, and I had that on December 8th of 2009. And since that time, frankly, within a few months, I had lost 90 pounds.
What? No, Dan.
Oh, yeah.
9-0 in just a couple of months.
Well, within 5 months, I had lost 90 pounds. And
what's that like, losing a whole, I mean, my wife is 100 pounds, and I can't even fathom.
Well, somebody, probably shouldn't express it this way, somebody said, wow, that's a whole anorexic another person. But you're right, it's like a small person no longer being a part of me. But it has been life-changing. It's very gratifying. I've lost 14 inches in my waist.
Wow.
5
man.
inches in my neck. I'm much more physically active, less tired, and all my health markers are very much improved, very much improved.
That is incredible, Dan. Now, if you don't mind sharing, you're sitting down, obviously I'm not going to ask you to stand up, but 14 pant sizes, that would be like going from a 50 to a
52 to 38.
That's insane. I mean,
22 neck to a 17 neck. And you're right, people come up and say, are you sick, or what's happened to you, or where's the rest of you?
Yeah, where's the rest of you?
Yeah.
Where's the Dan Gray that I know?
Right.
That is incredible. Well, and that has been wonderfully gratifying, hasn't it?
Yes.
How is it, other than feeling healthier and looking better, what are some of the other benefits that you have received from that, Dan? I mean, how has it impacted anything?
Well, the quality of your life in general is greatly improved by knowing that you're healthy.
Right.
And my BMI, my body mass index, has gone from a 40 to almost a 25. So my goal is to lose another, I'd like to weigh 195. I weigh 215 now.
Okay.
And if I get under 200 with my height at 6'1" or a little bit over 6'1", I'll have a body mass index of 25, and that puts me in the healthy range, and I'll be like back in my days when I was in the Marine Corps and playing ball and stuff like that.
This weight loss, Dan, has this inspired anyone around you, anyone who knows you, to follow your footsteps?
Yes, several of the doctors that I see have asked me who performed the surgery on me, and that they have some patients greatly in need of this type of medical procedure, and so I don't know the persons by name, but I do know that several local doctors have sent their patients to the same surgeon who took care of me.
That is incredible. I think the biggest question that anyone would ask, Dan, is how do you keep it off? I mean, what is the surgery? What does it do exactly? How do you keep it off?
Well,
without getting too technical, it's 7 a.m. We don't want to, I mean, obviously viewers want to know. I mean, how do you keep it off?
With gastric bypass surgery, you don't really have a choice, because your stomach capacity is 5 to 10% of what it was.
Oh, wow.
And about 18 inches of your small intestine is bypassed. So 95% of your stomach and 18 inches or so of your small intestine is bypassed. So you can't eat as much. And then of that you eat, not as much is absorbed in the small intestine. So you really, it's really kind of easy.
Yeah, it's easy.
You've got to adjust your lifestyle, and eating is no longer a part of your lifestyle, but it's okay.
Most folks who get to this point, obviously they have to for their health. You really needed to take this step.
Yes. It's just like I had bladder cancer, I had melanoma. There was medical procedures that I needed to go through in order to have a quality of life or even to continue living. Well, the GBS, gastric bypass surgery, was in the same vein.
Well, you know, you see some of these actors or actresses, if they've gotten big and they're known big, whether it's John Belushi or somebody, their whole persona wraps around their size. They couldn't go do what Dan Gray did because it would totally change. They would no longer be a John Belushi or somebody else. Have you regretted all the fact that a lot of people don't recognize you anymore, Dan?
Oh, that's a big ego kick. And as you can see, I'm not reluctant to talk about it at all. I have acted as a coach within the confines of the American Cancer Society for my cancer situation. I have sometimes doctors ask me to take a phone call, and so I don't mind talking about it at all.
That's great.
In fact, I look forward to helping people if I can.
Absolutely. Those are great words to wrap. Thank you, Dan, for being with us this morning.
Thank you, Greg.
Absolutely. Stay tuned to a little more All-American People with Dan Gray coming up next. Can't you see what got Philip Gray so interested in technical education? That idea of, I've got a teenager, I want to give him a good trade, but I got to send him off to Ohio to get that certified welding card, to get that certification. I got to send him all the way to Ohio. I want him right here, but we can't do that for him yet. Fast forward a few years, technical colleges kick off, and then ultimately end up here, Horry, Georgetown, and Marion counties in 1966. That wasn't the case when Dan got that certification. Fast forward to the present, or even 10 years ago when Dan got active in the South Carolina Technical College system, something that his father had gotten active in locally 45 years before, the excitement even to today. And think about Dan promoting how proud he was of having that card at age 16, and fast forwarding to today, he's proud that anyone can have that experience, whether in a trade school back then or technical college education today. The experience of getting in there, getting involved and staying focused on your future is exactly what Philip Gray was interested back then and Dan Gray is interested in right now. Dan, thanks so much for being with us this morning.